J Skull.
Welcome, everybody, to the Power of J Skull. I'm one of your hosts, VHS Jason, of course. Calling out the Power of J Skull right there was Jason, and I was pointing the wrong way, but he is here. Thank you guys for joining us, and if you do love our show, if you could do us a favour, remember to like this video, subscribe, the notification bell. It'll let you know when new content's coming out. Now, Jason, we are into, let us clarify this, Filmation Glimmer this week.
Yes,
with
not
titles.
Netflix Glimmer. This is Filmation Glimmer. Classic Glimmer. This is like
Classic.
Toilet paper with splinters in it.
Yes, kind of Glimmer.
Yes,
it was
you
an
have
interesting
Charmin,
choice.
and then you have classic toilet paper. Yes, this is classic Glimmer.
Classic Glimmer.
Yes.
It was an interesting choice, I must say, because
Yes.
after you've shown me and we've absorbed that wonderful 2018 series, it is interesting to have to go back and revisit these characters because Glimmer wasn't really in my radar. I watched She-Ra, but I wasn't as invested in the characters as I was. I mean, I'm 14 at that stage, so I've gone through the He-Man run.
You're
I
old.
watched a bit of She-Ra, but yeah. So why did you choose Glimmer, and why these two episodes?
I chose Glimmer because, honestly, Filmation She-Ra is a series that, unlike Filmation He-Man, I never really revisited until recently. And watching a few episodes, I thought, wow, this classic Glimmer is so different from the Glimmer we got to know in the Netflix She-Ra. And by different, I don't mean better. I mean fairly awful character. And since Cal did not torture you in the way I was hoping he would, I just thought, let me sneak one in that he won't be expecting. And
it
so,
feels like I'm in
therefore,
a
we have
podcast
Glimmer.
because it's like you're waterboarding me with
Hello,
Cal.
Jason.
Yes.
Let's play a game.
That's right. So I get waterboarded with one episode, then I get taken off. Go, it's all right, buddy. Here's some Stratos for you. And now I'm getting waterboarded again.
Yes, well, you know. I'm
So-
a very lonely man of few pleasures, and this is one of them.
Well, let the torture begin, Jason. And we're
Let's
going to
do
get
it.
into the first episode, well, chronologically, is Romeo and Glimmer.
Yes. A little bit on the nose, I thought.
It is a little bit. I mean, it is, but it isn't, because you're inferring to a classic Shakespeare
Absolutely.
play, and it really, there's no Capulets in this. So
Well, you have the rebellion,
we have the
Two households, both alike in dignity, in fair Etheria, where we lay our scene.
Oh, that's beautiful. I love that. You know what else is beautiful, Jason, and how we start this episode? Is Hordak's design skills when it comes to his weaponry.
Oh,
And more
I
so-
wish I had that kind of ego where I put my face on everything.
It looks great,
And it's-
doesn't it? Because, first you go, how stupid is that? But really, wouldn't that unsettle you? If you were
It
a soldier,
would.
he would just go like, what's with this guy's ego? Why is he putting a face on it? Can he see me? Like,
I honestly believe that Vladimir Putin's biggest miscalculation in the conflict in Ukraine was not putting that horrible face of his on every single tank, just coming down the Ukrainian streets with this face. Just, I would be terrified.
I think it's probably the same as what they do. He probably issues out calendars where it's just picture after picture of him topless on that horse.
Oh, absolutely.
It's good for morale. It's good for
I'm
morale.
sure it is.
But, the fact that
I
we
bet.
have the
Do you
Hordak
think
version-
Hordak does the same thing though? Sending out
Probably.
calendars of himself. Look, imp! It's my new calendar. Ow! It's another shirtless Hordak calendar with those big ugly pepperoni nips. How interesting!
It's the teeth. It's the teeth. It's like, dude, I'll get you some teeth whitener. But, so Hordak's got his version of the Peter Copter, basically.
Yes. Oh, what a
So, which
reference!
is cool.
There we go.
Now, we get introduced to a character. Now,
Some people have got a
I'm gonna throw you
completely
under the
different
bus
idea
here
of
a
what
little
the
bit.
Peter Copter is, though.
I'm going to throw you under the bus here a little bit because before the show, there was a character that's introduced pretty well immediately in this episode, and you confessed to me that you didn't automatically know who that was.
No, it was a complete shock when I realized who it was supposed to be. And looking back, I'm thinking, you idiot, how did you not get it? But then again, we had the Netflix version of this character, and the Netflix version of this character was endearing and beautiful and quirky, and this one is just grating and awful. Just
The voice, the
horrible.
choice for her voice. It's nasally, it's dismissive.
But okay, but
we
we have got to understand also that I think Masters of the Universe and She-Ra had one female voice actress, Linda Gary, and she did so much. The woman is a goddess. And so you can't fault her too much. It was just, I could see her in the recording booth going, just hire someone else.
That's right.
Have Alan Oppenheimer come in here and suck in helium. Anything.
Anything. But it's really, and we'll talk about it for this whole episode. The problem with her, she's very, the character, like the whole idea of this character in this is pretty bad. Like she is kind of stupid. She is really dismissive. And I call her stupid because who wastes their time, Jason, fighting with an imp? Why even go there?
Every single one of the Horde, that's who. Every single one of them.
Imp is just like baiting every single one of them and fall for it then, don't they?
They always do. And if they would just ignore him, or at least blast him when Hordak isn't looking, I think that the rebellion wouldn't have a chance. I think that Imp the spy is a double agent. I think he's actually working for the rebellion.
Well, you'd like
and he's so deep, nobody knows.
But if I was the rebellion, I would have grabbed that thing at one point and put a blade to its neck.
Oh, absolutely.
Because I think that's Hordak's weakness.
During last week, or the week before last, whenever Cal grabbed Imp, I was really hoping that he would use that beak of his to rip his innards out. Cal, no. Oh, no, Cal, don't. Stop. No, Cal, don't.
You're eating his eyeballs, Cal. Come on, man.
Cal has got a predator's beak. That means he's a meat eater. That means he catches prey.
He's a predator.
That means he kills things to eat them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Do you think he cries and apologizes while he's doing it?
Every episode of She-Ra that we've watched so far, it seems mandatory now. They've got to have a scene of them looking at a map.
Yes.
His just funny. It's like another shot of them around a map, which indicates what's the plan here. Why does Hordak have the Petercopter tank, and what's his plan with it? So,
he wants to bring down the shield. That's it.
He wants to bring down the shield.
Shield bad. Shield must come down.
It's got to come down though. So the idea is the Bright Moon Force Shield. That's what they're trying to knock out. So, and it's not as dumb as any other villain in the He-Man universe's plan. So I'm down with it.
I appreciate the pragmatic attitude. There's a shield. Let's drain the power. That's the plan.
Yeah. Now we get introduced to one of the because in the title of this episode, and that is Namor. We have Namor in this episode. No, that is Romeo.
Yes, and
I found his name for a Horde.
I found his inclusion in this episode quite illogical.
Oh, we got a Vulcan joke in there too. I like it.
You can go Namor, I can go Vulcan.
Yep, we'll go with it.
Because Hobbit is next.
But I like what they do with him. Because he does do a twist in this episode that I was kind of like, cool, good for you, good soldier. And that's the fact that you think the way they're setting up when Glimmer and him meet, that it seems like, Romeo's like, God, this guy's easily manipulated. Someone's been nice to you and you're just going to do the right thing. And I like the fact that he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He is, as you said, a good soldier, and he yeets himself right out the window and goes back to tell
in classic style, of course.
Oh, absolutely. And I love the fact that while they're having their meeting around this map, he's hanging in front of the window that has no curtains and apparently no glass, and he's just hanging there. Nobody notices him.
No,
the entire time. That is classic Filmation storytelling. Is that it's not noticed.
Time to draw no curtains. We don't
No,
got that
no.
time. Yeah.
If Adora had turned her head 20 degrees to the left, episode would have been over.
They have no peripheral vision abilities at
None at
all
all.
on
Well,
Etheria.
she's used to wearing that crown on each side, so that kind of messes things
That
up.
would, that would.
She's not used to
Yeah,
looking over there.
as for her, I find Glimmer in this episode overly naive and
Yes.
certainly, I suppose that's the spirit of the rebellion is you trust everyone on face value, but being the fact this is episode 79, so you've been through a few adventures together, maybe I wouldn't have been as trusting, and certainly she gets burnt by this pretty.
You are really giving Filmation a lot more credit in keeping with character arcs and
I am.
story
I'm going
arcs
with
than
it.
what they honestly deserve.
But it is episode 79.
It
This
is,
the
and
79th episode.
I like to see this Glimmer as somebody who sees the best in people and sees their best future selves, and she thinks that if she can just talk to them, they will become that person. And she's kind of burned by this in this episode. Obviously, I did not find Glimmer that bad in Romeo and Glimmer.
Her
It was not
intentions are
terrible.
good.
Yeah,
Her
and
intentions
as
are
you said,
very good.
it comes from a place of naivety and optimism more than anything else.
It is
But
optimistic.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like that they chose to make the story a bit more complicated than it had to be. I don't think it's a great episode, but I applaud the thinking in the plot that they made it more than what it had to be.
The A plot and the B plot kind of connect quite well, and I think work quite well with the A plot being Glimmer and Romeo, and the B plot being trying to break into Bright Moon Castle. And I like the idea with the Peter Copter and the
That is actually a really cool shot of that tank.
It is a really cool shot of it, eh?
And I love that glowing eyes. It's just great.
Yeah, I mean, you got to say it would intimidate the hell out of you if you had.
It is. It's a very intimidating. I love the perspective of it. I love the size that they have the little robot guards right underneath it to show you how huge it is.
Yeah,
I mean, the face is ridiculous, but at the same time, that would scare the pee out of me right there if I saw that coming.
If that was pulling up my street, I think I'd be doing a bolt.
Do you think do you think that the Hordak copter or the Hordak tank do you think that the Hordak tank has a regular horn like a car horn, or does somebody press a button and Hordak's mouth goes, "Hey, out of the way"?
It's that or the horn from Dukes of Hazzard. I do like how that, because this is all entrapped as planned, right? This is her thing. So when we talk about, because obviously my main reference is the reboot series, is that Entrapped is brilliant in that series. She's really smart technically and all that. And we do get that she is the tech person in this episode, because it's her idea to stick these suction cup things and draw on the power or try to disrupt the shield. So I didn't mind that we're getting an Entraptor that's pseudo close in basic concept to the reboot. I mean, I suppose I had to get it somewhere. However, she, unlike Entraptor from the newer series, this Entraptor's just highly unlikable. And I know she's supposed to be a villain, but there's not even... Most of the villains have a little bit of charm, a little bit of comedic... She's got nothing. She's really got nothing.
They just made her as unlikable as possible and with no personality at all. And I hate to keep drawing I hate to keep drawing comparisons to the Netflix series.
It's impossible not to.
But it's impossible. And I feel almost bad because Filmation was not inviting any of these comparisons because obviously the Netflix show didn't exist, but Netflix took every single one of these dumb characters from this show and just elevated them so much. Normally you look at a reboot and you're like, well, yeah, they did a good job with this character and this character, but I didn't like what they did with this character. Every single character was upgraded to the nth degree. Every single one. And so whenever you go back to look at Filmation She-Ra, all you see are pale imitations of characters that didn't exist yet.
Yeah, and you have to I found myself reminding myself in the episode to, hey, look, I need to look at it for what it was made at that time. And yeah, if
Shia has appeared.
Yes,
look how big she's gotten.
Yeah, she's chunky.
Yeah, she has appeared.
The thing is, I will say though that they've always taken, the new series has taken all the core elements of each character, so they haven't gone off script completely. They've just taken that kernel of idea that they displayed in this series, and yeah, like you said, blossom it out with wonderful character arcs and flaws and trauma and all that good gravy stuff. But get back to the Petercopter. This tank is actually quite a powerful tank.
Yes.
And it shows it. There's one scene where we get Shira, because Shira just... I love these episodes, because in both episodes, Shira goes, what? So Dora goes, look like it's time for Shira. And I'm like, hey, do you think someone will ever overhear you say that? Maybe you want
Even if they did, Bo would just
vocalize
turn
it?
around and go, "What do you mean? It's time for She-Ra? Where is her?
True.
Oh,
true.
something shiny."
But it shoots this giant laser at Shira, and it shows how powerful, because I liked it, because Shira's actually buckling under it
Yes.
before she actually tries, and then bounces the beam back and blows the tank
Well,
up.
she had to make them feel good about themselves for just a little bit.
Just a little bit. But after the tank blows up and Hordak gets the great line of, what's going on? It's like,
They never know what's going on. Never.
it's like, dude, do your research. Look out the window.
What's
That's
going
what's
on? What is happening?
Yeah. But
Who
so
dares?
She blows up the tank, and she's obviously, this is a chance to face down her nemesis and have a conversation with him. She decides to talk into the Petercopter face instead.
Of course.
Like, rather than talk to Hordak himself, we're talking to the the metal face on top and front of the tank. I'm going to put this image up, Jason, and go, oh my, that would never make it in a current She-Ra show or anything. And it seems so inappropriate in some way.
Just a smidge, although you know that Entrapta and Hordak probably did in the reboot. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, that's controversial there, my friend.
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think it's
If
pretty
that was
much
the
been
case,
confirmed.
right, and Romeo was in that series, would he be doing this, you think, as well? Because Romeo gives me that bit of that vibe. Hey, he's a bit of a peeping Tom.
Oh, totally.
No,
of course,
he's
Glimmer would have
absolutely
popped in next to him. What you doing? Ah!
And as a Horde soldier, he actually doesn't deserve to be a Horde soldier, Romeo. Because his questioning of, I thought they were all bad, but she seems so nice and pretty. I'm like, if that's your reasoning of why you should completely give up your family and friends and cross to the other side, boy, you got issues.
Absolutely. Although I do have to commend this series, because even watching it back in the 80s, it was the first time that I had ever seen anything where they even hinted that people on the bad side might not be all bad. Because there were several episodes where She-Ra or Adora would say, oh yeah, there's this general that we're fighting against. He's a good man. If I could talk to him, maybe I could reason with him. And that was such
you
a...
brought
that was
up an
such
excellent point.
Yeah, it was such an alien concept to me.
It's like opening up Pandora's box in a way when you're trying to explain that to kids. Yeah, thank God they did, and clearly they took that and ran with that quite a lot in the sequel series. But
Absolutely.
the fact, like I said early on, that Romeo decides, no, I'm going back and reporting this, was kind of cool, because you just thought he probably won him over. Like, she won him over, and now he's going to be on the rebellion. But no, he goes back to report it. And basically, Hordak, like, just because why not, goes, throw him into the prison as well, because he questions something, doesn't he? He questions whether they, Romeo questions whether they're all evil. And he goes, for that influence, throw you in the... That's what it's like, being under Hordak's rule.
Well, of
Saves
course,
one
you would have figured they would have noticed that by now. It's like, yeah, you remember the time that Jerry said he didn't like the Hordak's boots, and we hadn't seen him again? It's weird, huh? Oh well, let's all go die for Hordak.
What I don't understand with Romeo, though, Romeo is smitten by Glimmer. He's crushing on her a little bit. So why does he do this at this point? Like Like he
Well,
tries to
I think he's
well,
being.
she's trying to shoot him. Mind me,
Yeah.
with a half invisible gun. Someone forgot to
Well,
colour by the looks of it.
Yeah. He's also being very respectful because he's not getting handsy. He's got his hands out
Oh
like
no,
this,
yeah.
like I'm restraining you, but I'm not touching you. Which,
Mm-hmm.
given the state of 80s culture, that's highly progressive that he was not
It's
he was not
rather
getting a handful
progressive.
of things because yeah,
Yeah.
we were talking a little bit about how Glimmer was kind of putting things out there for a couple of
What do
times.
you mean this?
Yes, that right there. It's
No.
like, honey, it's like Glimmer, I'm trying to get us out. Would you stop doing that?
I think she needs to go get some corrective lessons because her lazy eye is the thing doing my head in.
Yeah, well, that and her spine has got to be really sore by the end of the day. Glimmer, are you looking at me or are you looking at that spider? You're freaking me out.
But really is a Glimmer and Romeo episode because really the other characters are just exposition fillers, really, aren't they, for this plot, which is a very simple plot, but it kind of works. We do get in this, though, Glimmer's mum, and I will say this, the Queen. I don't mind this version of the Queen. And
She's not terrible.
No, I would say out of all the characters that we have in comparison to the new series, the Queen in this is not that far different, really, in the future series.
No.
Like, in the way that she holds herself regally, she's someone with class, she's very Queen-like. So, no, I like her. She got some kick-ass big wings, too, and I like them.
The only thing that really bothered me is that literally Angela and Glimmer look like they are the same age. And Glimmer's coming up to Angela, and I'm thinking, sister or something. Mom, what?
Yeah,
no.
Yeah, there is no aging. But what do you do then? You know what I mean?
I don't know. Put
line
like a couple of crow's feet or something. I don't know. I don't see the aversion to making Angela aged because
I agree.
You can be aged and you can still be beautiful. Which again, it's the 80s. That was whenever facelifts were first coming into vogue, and
in the next year season, like I don't know if they put a lot of wrinkles on the Queen.
They didn't, but they made her. They did not make her look like a teenager, though.
Yeah, she looked like a grown woman. You know what? But I'm surprised that's your biggest concern because where's Romeo's pants? Why doesn't he have any pants, Jason? Like, does somebody steal his pants, Jason? Or has the Horde gone, sorry, resources are low, you get a jacket.
I'm pretty sure it's a resource
and the next
problem.
guy's just wearing pants.
Would you like pants or would you like a gun? The gun. Good choice. If you had said anything about pants, I would have thrown you in the dungeon.
And that's really it. I mean, there's not much else to this. Did you have anything to add to this episode?
There are some hilarious.
Go for it.
There's a couple of hilarious. I'm sorry. I'm getting my episodes crossed. There is one hilarious animation mistake in this episode, and that is whenever Glimmer and Romeo are in the dungeon. And She-Ra breaks in, which, number one, I love the stealth that She-Ra showed getting into the dungeon. I thought that was really cool because normally they would just punch their way through. She's like, nope. She's doing the Fred Flintstone in the background.
Yep.
But She-Ra shows up. Glimmer sticks her whole dang body out of the bars and goes, She-Ra! And I'm like, Glimmer, you could have gotten out of those yourself.
You mean this image here? I just went to find the image for you because it is some of the. You imagine? I don't know. Do you think they're in a deadline for this show? Maybe I don't have the.
That's the only thing I can think of is that there
because
was a deadline for the show.
Because the bars are so far apart, like they're obviously just trying to. We've got to get this out by Friday. But
it was almost a. It was almost like a comedic thing, like they would do on an episode of Johnny Bravo or something.
Yes.
just to make a funny point, like, you mean you could have gotten out of those bars at any time? No, not any time, only if it was funny. But true, yeah, I just remember seeing that and just literally slapping my forehead so much so that I actually there you go. I was bringing up my phone so I could show it. It's like,
yeah.
You could have gotten your whole dang body out of there, Glimmer. You didn't need She-Ra.
I totally see why Romeo couldn't get through, but she's literally like, She could squeeze through face first by the looks of it. So,
She could. She could. It would be a tight fit, but she could do it.
but there you go. But yeah, I mean, besides that, it's a, I've watched some of these episodes, and sometimes I feel like they're going for an hour. This didn't. This felt like it was a good 20-minute episode, and we were done.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was not great, but as far as Glimmer-centric episodes go, it was not terrible. We got some good action scenes. I enjoyed the scene of She-Ra fighting the tank, and as I said, She-Ra doing stealth through the dungeons. I liked Glimmer's attitude here that, if I could just talk to people, maybe I could make them better, and I like that it didn't go that way, but she was still just like, no, I believe in him. And then at the end... And then at the end, they're in love, and I don't think we ever hear from Romeo again, so I can only assume he died in battle.
No, and you know what? In a way, maybe the messaging behind this, because, look, I'm going to be really honest with you. A lot of young girls who start to come of age where they're starting to be interested in other people, one of the my common failings with young girls sometimes is the belief that they can change people.
Yes.
And we all know through our own life experiences that never usually the case, and so this is a great lesson with that, but it's not the moral lesson of the episode. We have that right here.
It should have been, though. Lookie should have got up and said, girl, you'll never change him, don't even try, he's trash. Until next time. Now, did you see where I was hiding? I was in the background doing this. Oh, Glimmer, no.
Well, let's see what he really said.
Looky again. Did you see where I was hiding today? If not, here's another chance. See me? Here I am. In today's show, Glimmer taught us something about friendship. She was a good friend of Romeo, even when he thought he didn't need a friend. Do you have a friend who's sometimes hard to get along with? Well, don't give up. Keep trying, because real friendship is the most valuable thing you can have.
Yeah,
stalk
related
them.
To Rocket Raccoon.
If they're not your friend, just keep harassing them till they are. That's
absolutely
the message I got from that.
Absolutely, and I fully agree with that.
Did you see Lookie in the episode? Did you find Lookie when you had a look?
I didn't find him this time, and I'm so upset with myself. I would get so depressed when I couldn't find Lookie. I'd just like, he was in the tree the whole time. He was right there, and I never saw him. If he had a knife, I would be dead. Do you think that's what Lookie does whenever he's not hiding? That he's like a stealth soldier for the rebellion, just like with a knife in his hand. Careful. I hear Lookie's in these woods. This is why we haven't seen Romeo.
He's got gonna have me some fun. Gonna have me some fun.
You just hear this whisper from the woods going, Did you find me? He jumps out, slashes their neck. Here I am. That's why they call it the Whispering Woods. It's because of Lookie.
Because of Lookie. There you go. I'm going. That's canon now. That's canon. All right. Well, the next episode we're about to get into, we'll be back straight after this break to get into, what's the name of it? Glimmer Come Home.
Glimmer Come Home, or Glimmer.
I think it would have
Don't
called it
come
Glimmer
home.
Don't Ever Come Home. That next one. But
Glimmer Go Away.
Well, here it is, Glimmer Come Home.
What He-Man playset was that?
I don't know.
Yes, if you want a podcast that is incredibly overproduced and way better than what you are, give
been working for us,
friend
hasn't it?
a call. Yeah.
And very affordable too. So do feel free to send an email to inquire. More than happy to answer your questions. Now, Glimmer Come Home, which was shocking to me. this episode. It's shocking for a few reasons. When we will uncover the shocks of this episode, one of the minor shocks is how human the robots are in for the Horde, aren't they? Because we opened this episode with the Horde soldiers hoarding food because it seems on brand.
That's why it's called the Horde.
I think so. It could be. They are so human-like, aren't they?
I love the fact that every now and again the show has to remind you that they're robots, so that whenever She-Ra rips one of their heads off or rips off one of their arms and beats them with it, you don't scream thinking that she's just murdered somebody. This is a second season episode, by the way, and there were some changes on She-Ra, not for the better, as we will see. Why? And I will go into that.
You go into that a little bit. Yeah.
The ratings for She-Ra was not as strong as Masters of the Universe, and they were very surprised by that because they did their best to give fans a slightly more complicated show with slightly more complicated characters. I mean, certainly not complicated by today's standards, but for 1980s, the idea that we're following what is basically a guerrilla group of soldiers trying to bring down an evil empire, that's pretty complicated, especially whenever you have a female protagonist. But the series ratings were not as strong as they thought, and so they decided, you know what, we're going to take our second season and we're going to truncate it to only a fraction of the episodes. And J. Michael Straczynski, who went on to do Babylon 5 and some other pretty amazing television and literary products, he jumped ship. I want to say Paul Denny jumped ship, but I don't want to say that because I'm not 100% certain. But the quality of the writing staff went down, and the show became notorious for basically cannibalizing older episodes of He-Man. There is one episode, and I cannot remember what it is, but She-Ra gets into a fight with Mantenna and Grizzlor and Catra and several other bad guys, and it is word for word, action for action, a copy of a He-Man episode where He-Man fights Beastman and Merman and Trapjaw at the same time.
That's disappointing to hear, isn't it?
Yeah, so the second season of She-Ra was a dramatic downturn in quality. And episodes like this are a full indicator of it, because this episode is heinous. I would say that out of all the episodes of She-Ra and He-Man that we have come across, this is not only the bottom of the barrel. Somebody kicked the barrel open and dug down underneath the barrel with their bare hands and accidentally broke into the sewers and covered the entire area in liquid sewage. Because that is how I feel about this episode, because it is almost 100% irredeemably horrible.
Look, it is, and I watched it, and my wife came in afterwards, and she goes, "What's wrong with you?" And I said, "I feel like I've had a really terrible drink, and the aftertaste is horrible."
Yes.
And I just went on a massive rant about the episode, which we'll do in this, but yeah, it was the most uncomfortable I've felt watching any of these episodes, because it just felt like I was struggling to see whether this purposefully designed to come off like this. Is it, there was a rogue writer and nobody's checking scripts at this day and go, we are purposely going to take this into a place? I don't know. I doubt it, but, these are the questions you're asking yourself. But let's start off the episode where we've seen the Horde hoarding supplies, and we have Bo with some gorgeous abs, that six-pack.
Gosh, I could just...
As a straight man, I'd eat off of that. So
you could do your laundry on those things.
Washboard abs. And
Absolutely.
Then we obviously have Adora being adorable, as always. And then straight off the bat, this is the first frame, Jason. Now, I can't zoom in enough, but young Glimmer there's got a busted backside look on her face straight off the bat. And her issue is, they see the problem, but Glimmer, for some reason, no explanation, no lead-in, is like, let's just go and do it. We're not going to... There's no time for that. We're just going to go in and attack it. So she has a chip on her soldier from a shoulder, Jason, from day one, from moment one.
Yes, and I don't understand why all of a sudden she has a problem with using her light powers as a distraction, because that is literally what she does. Is her light powers are a distraction. That's what you do, Glimmer.
That's why her name is Glimmer. Glimmer.
Exactly. It's like it would be like Shira going, "I'm so tired of using my strength to hurt people who's on the other side. I would rather do what Glimmer does and just like shoot people with light." Well, you can't do that, Shira. I'm sorry. It's not in your action figure stat card. You just can't.
Can't do it. But yeah, she's really kind of awful in that opening scene. And but Adora does the right thing when they go back and shock horror, look at another map.
Absolutely, because that's how you know they're planning things.
That's exactly. She does call her on it fairly early, going like, "Hey man, what's kind of going on?" And I do appreciate that everyone around's are going, "What's the deal with Glimmer lately? What is her problem?" Because she is nasty. She is dismissive. She is rude. She is the worst of the worst in this episode, Jason.
And the thing is, they had an easy way to fix this. They did, because they introduced the pond later on that she looks into, and the pond is manipulating her. But that's the first time that she sees the pond, and that's the first time she's manipulated. If they had just said, "Well, Glimmer's been so weird since she's been going off by herself to the lake. You know, I wonder what's going on," and just say that Shadow Weaver's been manipulating her for the whole time, could have easily rectified all of that. But this episode didn't care. And there's more examples, more flagrant examples later about how little this story was cared about. Incidentally, when Imp showed up, I just thought, oh, good. That's what this episode needs. More Imp.
Imp's probably, he's one of the stronger points in this episode.
Imp was the stronger point. I got to thinking, boy, I wish we had more Imp and less Glimmer.
I like having I will say I did like having Shadow Weaver doing Shadow Weaver in this episode. Being the puppet master, I kind of like dug, and I do like her. I like the fact that she has morphing abilities.
Yes.
I do
turning
like
into that Chewbacca looking guy.
I
guess it'd be more Zeb Aurelius than anything else.
But it's Grislaw, so
yes.
Yeah. Wrong franchise, buddy.
And is it just me? Or did they animate Shadow Weaver a little bit more voluptuously in this episode?
Oh, let's have a look.
Because it just seemed like she was doing what Glimmer was doing in the last episode. Like, She-Ra, I will get you. I will get you for this. I don't know. I don't know.
Maybe.
You know, I know Shadow Weaver was always
flaunted, Jace.
And she did. She did. She was always a voluptuous, strangely voluptuous character, but she just seems a little bit more her tracts of land just seem a little bit more visible, so to speak.
Yes. But,
and it seems like that's the only thing that got a little bit of care in this episode.
The only young ones, Jason. You can only stay perky forever. Gravity eventually gets to all.
Not if you're magic.
Not if true. That's
no. You know that she woke up in the morning, went to the mirror, and went sim salabim, and they were, you know.
Yeah.
Shadow Weaver. What took you so long? Just putting on my face. Shadow Weaver was always a really cool character.
Man, Glimmer.
Do we have to?
We have to, because she's so stupid and so easily manipulated. When she comes across those soldiers and the shape-shifting version, which I just had of Shadow Weaver. By the way, I like the Planet of the Apes design. I kind of dig it.
Yes,
I was waiting for Glimmer to hit the ground and going, "You blew it up! You blew it all to hell!"
I was kind of thinking of, do you remember that one? You damn dirty whore! Do you remember that episode, that old Hanna-Barbera show, where, and for the life of me, I can't remember what it was, but it was it was like a caveman family, and they had this triceratops looking thing with a horn, and the horn Herculoids. Looks like it looks like the monster from the Herculoids, only brown.
Yes, it does. Good goal. We're going to do a Herculoid show one day.
Oh, we really have Herculoids and Thundar the Barbarian and
Space Ghost, OG Space Ghost.
I wanted Zan and Zaina to die.
I want Glimmer to die in this episode. I'm sorry.
I really did.
Shira fans, but I'm just saying in this episode.
No, Glimmer was nasty and stupid and mean and horrible and ignorant.
She turns on everyone immediately.
Yes. Look at that. If I was to look at this frame, I would immediately say, oh, she's one of the bad guys.
Absolutely. And by all intents and purposes, I would be questioning Glimmer's loyalty this moment moving forward because she was that easily susceptible.
I would be questioning her competence, her loyalty, everything. Because if there was a stupid decision to be made, Glimmer made it. And like I said, if she had been getting manipulated by Shadow Weaver for days, weeks, something like that, it would be understood. But no, you know, at one point in this episode, I think it was Madame Raz says, well, we should just let it go. I'm just like, yeah let her go. Madame Raz has a point. And speaking of Madame Raz, I showed this to you. I sent you a video of this. Said, did you realize Linda Gary accidentally did Madame Raz's voice whenever she was speaking as Shadow Weaver? It's because at one point, Hordak is walking back and forth, and he's smoking, like smoke is coming out of him. And Shadow Weaver says, Hordak, you shouldn't. But no, she doesn't say, Hordak, you shouldn't be smoking. She says, Hordak, you shouldn't be smoking. Does the Madame Raz voice.
Yeah.
No one cared to fix it.
Mate, it's 5 o'clock on a Friday in the recording booth. They've got still 3 pages of dialogue, and the audio guy's going to be at dinner by 6, so he's just going, Linda, let's just blow through these. But that's exactly what happened there. But yeah.
Well, She-Ra called Glimmer Tila a couple of times, but it's okay. we'll just edit that out.
We'll fix it later. Yeah. It feels like that's what Filmation.
Morgan Freeman's voice pops in. They actually didn't fix it later.
But it does feel like that's what Filmation Studio was. Every department at one point then, the other guys will fix it later. But nobody actually fixes it later.
Nobody ever fixed it, no.
But Shadow Weaver must have been having a ball, really, because, like, they're shooting fish in a barrel for her at this point.
Yes.
Like, Glimmer's shooting fish in a barrel for her. Like, how easy was that, you know? I will say, I do appreciate that her friends do make a point of being concerned about it. Everybody's worried about Glimmer. And I think, it's not a big thing, but it's at least that's in there. Everybody, and, it's a good message to kids that, to support your friends, even when they're at their worst, to try to help them.
That was the moral of the last episode, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, the moral of the last episode is if friendships can be difficult, and if they're not friends with you, just keep constantly harass them. No, you're right. It is the moral lesson of the last episode.
Yes.
I'm a bit worried about She-Ra at this point. And I don't think she should continue to wear corsets based upon this image here, where she has as you stated, Jason, a 3-inch waist.
Yes, that is just so weird. But that is one of those cursed frames.
I do like the look She-Ra's given Glimmer, though. It's like,
I'm sorry, She-Ra.
This was you right now.
I'm sorry, She-Ra. This is all my fault. It was your fault.
Yeah.
When we get home, you are so fired. I could just rip your head off right now and throw you down and say Shadow Weaver did it. But no, we have censors.
Yeah, she was not impressed. No. Yeah.
That does lead me into one positive about this episode, and that is that we're so used to She-Ra basically being the one-man wrecking crew on the show. Whenever there's a job to be done, everybody kind of hides and She-Ra does it. I did like how She-Ra and Glimmer worked together, because you just didn't see a lot of that, and I liked the fact that the battle took place in midair. It was kind of cool. I can't believe I'm saying something nice about this complete dog crap episode.
I love that ship.
It's the Palomino from the Black Hole.
It's so weird, but I
Yeah.
really like it.
No, you ever seen the black
But
hole?
what was
That's
the
the Palomino.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, for the black hole. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. They stole it again.
Mm-hmm.
I just
All the
don't
best ideas are
understand,
stolen.
Jason, why giving people giant cigars was, the way to go here. I would have thought food would have been the better option, but maybe giant cigars is going to keep the people happy.
Well,
You know,
shouldn't be smoking, Hordak.
it's that or it looks like logs of poop. But considering the color, I'd want to go to the doctor.
Yeah, well, as long as it's edible and they're starving, they don't care.
By the way, let's address that point with the theory, all right? There's a real problem here with the politics of this world because all the time, even in the current series, the population, the general population, their standard of living's pretty damn low compared to the princesses, right? There's a class division that is quite large in a theory.
Yes.
What do
I
you do?
have noticed that. Basically, if you're not part of the rebellion, you're starving. So yeah, there's definitely some pressure on for some people.
Yes, I have noticed that. You know what? Because if you can afford to have a Petercopter, sorry, I just love the Petercopter.
It just sounds like that just sounds like something you do if you're just showing off.
Did you say you were giving Madame Raz a pass in this episode?
Yes, because she actually says at one point, "Oh, we should just let it go." Yeah, she was. Yeah, Madame Raz was right. I'm sorry, she was.
I feel like Madame Raz is saying to the broom here, "Weren't you in a Disney film?"
Don't say anything, Raz. I could get sued. I'm under an NDA.
And that is essentially that episode. It was a grading episode to watch.
Madame Raz was in Disney too, wasn't she? Madame Mim in the Sword and the Stone.
Yes.
So there you go, 2x Disney stars.
There you go.
That's what meth will do to you, kids.
Mm-hmm. Her voice, the way she delivered her lines, Glimmer, it was so unappealing that I would say, Jason, this is an episode that would be I'm not watching the show anymore type of episode.
It's
like this wasn't going to help
there.
their ratings.
No. At this point, they knew that the show was over. They knew that they had this truncated season, and they were just trying to fill out their contract. And it was terrible. It was bad. It was many different, many different versions of the word bad. I do have a note here though that says that whenever they first show the Fright Zone in this episode, I love the way that the background was painted, and I love the way that it went all the way down and just kept going down and kept going down. The background paintings on this show are beautiful. Even as if Aaron Harvey told us many of them are recycled from the Star Trek Filmation series.
Yeah, if you haven't watched that, we do the Agony booth on this channel. Go check it out, Star Trek. And we were talking about Star Trek, the animated series. And we had an expert on there. He's been involved in writing the encyclopedia. And he pointed out that the backgrounds were reused from Star Trek the Animated Series and reused for some He-Man episodes. But they are beautiful artwork. And some of these backgrounds, and the one that you just described, if I could get that in a frame, I would be very happy to hang that up on the wall.
Well, it's just amazing. The perspective shift that they do, because it shows the spires of the Fright Zone, and then it starts zooming down. And as it zooms down, this perspective on the background painting shifts to where instead of being something you're looking straight on at, it's something you're now looking down on, as though you're up in the air looking down. And it is, I don't know who did the background paintings on this show. I think Aaron said he knew somebody who did. Yeah. I want to take him out to dinner because honestly, the backgrounds are sometimes the best part of the show. And if I had to have as our friend Sean Ferrick says, if I had to have a Latinum up for this episode, it would be that one shot of the Fright Zone.
I wonder, and there's probably connective tissue there, but I see a lot of He-Man episodes, and I'm thrown back to Ralph Bakshi, and especially Wizards.
Oh, absolutely.
So quite a lot there. So I wonder if the artist was somehow involved there. It's just the choices of color. If you can even see with our background, it seems to be they use a lot of purple, and they use purple and reds really well in their stuff. So the design work's never been questionable. Even with the characters to this day, I was joking around about Glimmer with the eyes not being straight, but even the artwork 40 plus years later, I think holds up, and I think works quite well. I mean, okay, well, it's only 16 frames instead of 24, I think, but still, I even Horde, I can see the 80 design, but Hordak, he's still really menacing.
He is. And as I said, Shadow Weaver, her design is so timeless that all they did in the reboot was give her a mask.
Yeah.
And it's still a great design. The design of Catra, I think, is just wonderful. Yeah. And even the Rebels, even as dumb as Bo looks, you still know who he is the second that you see his costume. Yeah, and I think that's the hallmark of a character with great design, is you can tell who they are even whenever they're at a distance.
Yeah. Well, some of the arguments that have been rallied against Bo, that version of Bo, it's demasculating. And I never feel that he's been emasculated at all in the show.
No.
I think that's very simplistic thinking, to be honest with you.
It is because
if you wear a heart emblem, what are you trying to say? I mean, he's still a warrior. He is there helping the good fight. He looks after himself.
Well, he's walking around with a bunch of women with a bunch of skin-tight outfits. Of course he's going to walk around with a heart on.
Now I will say as well that I'm going to let that one go through to the keeper, as we would say here. What I will say as well is that I think people think they emasculate Bo because he's not the strongest character in there.
Well, he's not in charge is what it is.
He's not in charge, and it goes to it actually gives you an insight on people who say that. It gives you an insight to where their sexual politics lie. But my issue with Bo's only ever been with the way they write for Bo. And again, being spoiled by what came in the future.
Yes, because Bo does not have much of a personality. If I had a problem with the way Bo's written, it's that he's boring. He's a very boring character. Even over Glimmer, who in this episode, Glimmer was annoying and horrible and hurtful to people. But at least she has a personality. Bo has nothing.
Bo in that reboot series, I identify with him so much because I look just like him. No, it's just his insecurities, his optimism, his approach to life, his care. I really identify with that a lot more than identifying, with some of the He-Man characters. To be really honest with you, so. Yeah, no. But what'd you say, 1986? Are we looking at here, 86, 87?
I think it's maybe? 80. I'm honestly not sure. I think it's 1986, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, we'd be getting to the end of it. The other problem is, you would say, if they got a truncated season, Jason, this is, 5-6 years into the toy franchise. It was,
and the toy franchise is also dying out at this point, too.
Yeah, it's dying out at this point. I mean, you're getting assaulted by Transformers at this point, which are becoming a global sensation. G.I. Joe's massive at that point. Yeah, and even the girls.
1987. Here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah, the first season of She-Ra was 65 episodes. The second season, 28.
All right. 28 episodes, which is huge by today's standards.
Oh, absolutely. But back then, for a daily animated show, especially after such a huge first season, it's really kind of
when the money talks, So,
yes.
But yeah, look, it was an interesting look at Glimmer. I will say, Jason, I'm not going to say I had the best time with either of these episodes. I liked obviously. Romeo and Glimmer far more than I like Glimmer Come Home.
Same. Despite its flaws, same, because this episode was heinous.
But the positive out of it is I now reflect on the different Glimmer. The Glimmer from the 2018 series. And I am overwhelmed by just unbelievable respect for the way they wrote that character, the character arcs of the person, the way she was utilised. It really highlights Glimmer, who, I'll be really honest with you, when I first started watching that Ruby series, I'm thinking, don't know if I'm going to gel with that character. I freaking love Glimmer. Like,
Oh, she's wonderful. She's such a wonderful character.
So, bravo to the new guys, and while we kick the old guys in the head about their version of Glimmer. But there you go. That's Glimmer, isn't it? Now we're not going to cast Glimmer, Jason, because we're going to because this version of Glimmer is not in our movie. All right?
No, but if I were to cast this version of Glimmer, we had a little discussion about this. Impromptu, no screenshots or anything. Somebody as horrible and as hateful, I would cast Amber Heard because I just want somebody who I'd look at and instantly hate.
Yeah, I said Katherine Heigl, and we'll just keep going through the listers of all the B word persons in Hollywood, and that they could do it. All right, Jason, it's time for you to. Am I getting waterboarded or am I getting a pat on the head next week, Jason?
Well,
what are we doing?
We've been kind of going back and forth between She-Ra and He-Man, and so it's time to go back to Eternia next week. And since we looked at a hero last time, we're going to look at a villain this time, and we are going to devote the show to the one, the only, the hairy Beastman.
Yay, Beastman! I love me some Beastman. It's the only character that I could legit cosplay as, so I'm down for that because just paint me orange.
I thought you make a pretty good Stratos, personally.
Yeah, I do make a great Stratos.
You do. You got the beard and everything.
But I make a great Beastman as well. All I would need just need to contact Donald Trump to see where he gets his fake tan from. Not that I could believe it because it's probably fake news. But, if I could get that orange paint happening, then we'd be all good. So, no.
20 people is just like, I can't believe they just made it political.
Come on, is that political at this point? Talk about that, Muppet.
I don't know. Some people think it is.
Anyway, from that, Beastman, for me, though, the first two figures I ever got, I remember the night Mum come home, and I'm like 6 or 7, and she brings me 2 characters home. The first one is Skeletor, and the second is Beastman. I remember looking at Beastman card, and I remember Beastman going, this is so cool. He's so scary. And he had what I thought was a megaphone, because it looked like a little megaphone, but it had a little bit of string, and he had a whip.
He had a whip, yes.
Yeah. So
I don't remember what my first He-Man figure was. I want to say it was probably He-Man. Maybe I had a He-Man, and maybe I had a He-Man and a Skeletor, but I don't remember.
I do remember at the time, because me begging Mum, because we started seeing ads in the paper or the catalogues and stuff, that I was begging her for it. And I remember her saying to me, they were all sold out. I only could get these 2. Everything else. That was a series, when it hit, it didn't build up to be a success, Jason. It was an immediate phenomenon.
Oh, yeah.
And I think people forget how massive
it was.
Masters of the Universe was when it was first released.
It was, and I do remember. It was huge. Everybody was talking about it. Yeah. I had the lunchbox. Everybody had the clothes and the action figures, and it was. I
remember as a kid, because you were probably like me. It was 3/4 inch Star Wars figures was the main figures that I think I was gifted. So to get a 5-inch figure, was so much more. Well, maybe not articulation, but definition in their muscles and these extra weapons and all that. Yeah, it was great. It just felt like, I don't know, there's something that just felt better than this. I loved my Star Wars figures, but there was just something about having things giant. And when you're a little kid, they even seem even bigger. So very cool.
I often wonder what it would have been like if the He-Man, the Star Wars figures had used the He-Man molds. Could you imagine how scary Darth Vader would have been?
He would have.
But then again, Han Solo and Luke Skywalker would have had the same body mold and maybe even the same face, just different colored hair.
Don't you remember the Power of the Force figures from the 90s when they did that?
Yes, they were hilarious.
They were so bad.
Don't you think you're a little swole to be a stormtrooper? Yes.
It's crazy. All right, guys, that is the end of Power of J Skull this week. We'll be back with the next episode of Beastman. We'll be looking at 2 episodes. We're not telling you what they are. You'll be able to check them out on the next episode. Until then, we will catch you guys next time. And Jason, take it away.
You have been watching The Power of J-Skull!
Check out SpectrumSanctorum.net for all of our podcast merch. We have an entire merch store ready to give you all the things that you loved about our podcast. And get notified on all of our socials: Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our Spectrum Sanctorum merch store. Follow us today and be sure to hit that bell when you're watching our YouTube videos so you can be notified of when a new episode releases.